of righteousness at heaven's throne. Yeshua.
Hi there, everyone. This is Braden and Tally, the voice of My Beloved podcast. We are going to be talking more, looking at the Song of Solomon today. It's a beautiful day here in Missouri. It's one of those perfect days. I think today is like a perfect weather day. It's just beautiful, sunny, windy, not too hot, not too cold. It's really nice. This is just a beautiful time of year. It's really nice here. And we are on day 26 of the Omer, which means we've got 24 days to go till Shavuot, which means we're getting closer. And so we're getting excited about our gathering here. We've got people registering, and that just is getting exciting, getting everything ready, the housing ready, and making things look nice. We're excited. Things have changed on the property here a little bit. So we've got some cows now, and it's becoming a pretty little place. And so we'll be excited to be hosting visitors soon, and very soon. It's coming. So so we're going to dive into the Song of Solomon here, and I love this portion of scripture. It's just so honest. You know, it's like I love the story that it tells, and just how just real it is. It feels very real, you know, when you look at what's going on in the story. We're gonna get started.
Yes, so we're now in verse 7, and it starts out here. It says, "Tell me, O you whom I love, where you feed your flock." So backing up to last week, we discussed how she's gone through this crisis in some ways because she's been rejected. You know, she says, "Do not look upon me because I am dark. The sun has tanned me." She's kind of going through this growing pain in a way in her relationship with the body, and she's feels
kind of making excuses too, right? Like, this is because I'm, you know, my mother's sons
were angry with me. Yeah,
they made me the keeper of the vineyard.
Right, and so she's kind of learning how to operate in the body. And so now she comes to this place where she wants to get back to her lover. She's trying to get back into that first love. She says, "Tell me, O you whom I love, where you feed your flock." She's longing for nourishment. She's longing to be fed by him again. She's kind of gotten distracted from being fed by him, by the bridegroom. And this verse tells us the bridegroom is a shepherd. You know, Psalm 23, the most popular psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures." You know, this is this place of being shepherded by the bridegroom and just being cared for. He cares for you. You know, he cares for your soul. And so this is the place where she wants to get back into that intimacy with God. And so this whole song, just to point out again, it's a journey in growing in passion and love. It's a journey in growing close to the heart of the bridegroom. And so it really kind of lays out a progression in how that happens in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I feel like it's just so honest too, because it feels like she knows this, you know, she knows that this is the right, you know, this is the one for her. You know, she knows that he loves her, but like in this portion here, it's like she's still kind of grappling with it. Like, why though? Why does he love me? Like, why, you know, and she's kind of asking herself questions, and she's remembering all of the reasons why this really shouldn't work out. Like, it doesn't make sense that I am being pursued by this, you know. So I love like the reality of that, you know, just how the progression of her, you know, just grappling with things. You know, it seems like she knows it in her head. You know, he loves me. Yes, she knows it in her head, but it hasn't gotten into her heart strong enough yet that she's, you know, not struggling with the whole concept.
Yeah. So tell me, O you whom I love, where you feed your flock, where you make it rest at noon. And just this point here, where you make it rest at noon, flocks will rest at noon when they're well fed. So flock of sheep, they will rest, they'll lie down, they'll chew their cud at noon if they've been well fed that morning. And so she's saying, where is that place where you satisfy your flock? Where's that place where they're so satisfied that they're actually even able to rest at noon? They don't have to continue wandering over the mountains looking for something to satisfy their hunger, but they're satisfied with him. And so this is a place, even the noon is, you know, it's the high sun, it's the point of the peak heat of the day. It also speaks of a place of resting even in the heat of the labor. You're laboring in the fields. Yeshua talks about putting your hand to the plow, right? You don't look back. You're not fit for the kingdom of God if you look back. But even in this place of laboring in the heat of the day, there's still a place of rest. And so where is that place you feed your flock? Where is it that you make it rest even in the noontime? They're satisfied. There's in this place of laboring, but also in a place of just trusting and resting in God's provision. And so this is where she wants. This is what she's longing for. Show me, where is that place? She says, for why should I be as one who veils herself by the flocks of your companions? And it's thought in this verse here, one of the interpretations is that when she says, why should I be as one who veils herself, that she's actually saying, why should I be shamed as a harlot would veil herself? Because we look at Judah and Tamar in Genesis 38:15. It says, when Judah saw her, he sees Tamar over on the side of the road, he thought she was a harlot because she had covered her face. And so this evidently was a custom in Bible times for a harlot to actually cover her face on the side of the road. It indicated that she was a harlot. So the bride here, she says, why should I be as one who veils herself by the flocks of your companions? Basically, she's saying, I'm ashamed. Why should I be this way, though? Why should I be this outcast by the flocks of your companions? Like I want to be fed by you directly. So she's longing for direct communication with her bridegroom. She doesn't want to just be on the outside of being just next to even the flocks of Yeshua's companions, the bridegroom's companions, because the bridegroom has companions, right? And they're these friends of the bridegroom, you could say even. But she wants to not only just be associated with a friend of the bridegroom, she wants to actually know the bridegroom himself. And so this is a good challenge for all of us. We can sometimes cling to certain teachers. We can cling to certain men or women of God, and they almost like we know God secondhand in a way. But the bride here, she's saying, no, I want you. Where do you feed your flock? I want to know where you feed your people. I want to feed directly from you. And so this is, we're greatly blessed. We're benefited by men and women of God that are anointed to share the heart of the bridegroom, to share Yeshua. But ultimately, we feel like it's almost like a second-rate relationship with the bridegroom unless we're actually directly communicating and being fed by him himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing like another side of this too, just because she realizes her need. Like she realizes she needs to be fed. She realizes that she needs closeness with the shepherd. And so she wants to be with him. But then I'm seeing the flocks of your companions, like is almost like she's drawing near. I don't know. I'm relating it to the body of Messiah and how like a new believer might feel the need. Like I need to be spiritually fed, but they still feel that shame. Like I feel like I don't fit here. Like why should I be here? And it's almost this kind of hesitation to just even engage with the flock, or with the by the flocks of your companions, with the companions. And so, I think that also gives, just a picture of the tendency that we have to say, you know what, it might be better for me to just go to my prayer closet and just have a relationship to me and Yeshua, and stay away from that whole perspective, that whole path of walking with the body, of walking with the rest of the flock. But I think that's, that shame is what kind of keeps us separated. And I think that there's a need for both. We need to be in the prayer closet. We need our relationship to be strong with Yeshua, but we also need to figure out how to be fed, how to walk with the rest of the flock.
Right.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's totally a good view of that verse too. Yeah. To be in the body and not to be ashamed, not to feel like, okay, I've got to veil my face. I've got to kind of hide who I am, but encourage encourage transparency, to encourage honesty within the body. To be by the flocks of the companions is not a bad thing. But ultimately she wants to be fed by him.
She doesn't want to have to veil herself there, and that's the reason why that probably keeps her hesitant to even do that. And it goes into this next part here, right? Where it's talking again about about the flocks.
Right. Yeah. So verse 8, if you do not know, O fairest among women, follow in the footsteps of the flock. So here she's crying out for more intimacy with the bridegroom, to be fed by him. And then he gives this answer. It's an amazing answer. He says, if you don't know, it's almost implying that she should know. It's just like, if you don't know, then here's the answer. But it's amazing here. He says, oh, fairest among women. And so she's gone through this grappling, and now the bridegroom comes in and says, oh, you're the most beautiful, though. Like, he sees the sincere cry of her heart for more of him. And it's just such a beautiful thing to him. So for us, we feel lacking at times. We feel, the grapplings we go through, a lot of times you'll see this in the body. People just kind of feel left out. They feel rejected, whatever. And they grapple with these things, but then the bridegroom comes in and says, oh, you're the most beautiful, though. And he woos the heart of the bride. He woos the believer to himself with these words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And so you're the most beautiful. And so I want your best. Earlier on, she recognized, she said, I'm dark but lovely. So she recognized that God had done this redemptive work, but she also saw herself as being, having this darkness that was trying to overtake her life. The bridegroom, he only accents the beauty. The wonder, the beauty of what God is doing in that loveliness. He said, oh, you're the most beautiful among women. Follow in the footsteps of the flock. So basically, he doesn't say here where he is exactly. He doesn't say like, okay, I'm in the field of Bethlehem. He just says, she asks, where are you feeding your flock? He says, follow in the footsteps of the flock. And this is such a key point. You see people that get burned out in body life, and they end up just isolating themselves. And this is, Yeshua saying basically here, you want to find me, follow in the footsteps of the flock, be connected to the body, and this is the place where you're going to find me. You're going to find more of my nature, more of who I am. And this, ties into something that you're really passionate about, Tally, about the body's, the giftings within the body, right? Yeah. When you separate yourself from the body, you're missing out on giftings that are represented in that place that actually help you mature in your relationship with God.
Yeah. I love this this answer here too, because I think that like I said, that tendency to back off or go and seclude, get into a place of seclusion and stuff, and that's not what he's saying. He's like, because you feel shame. So he's saying, okay, you might feel shame from the flock, from my companions, even. But I'm calling you fairest among women, that's what I say to you. So go be with the flock, and just know that's what I'm still calling you, even if you feel that shame, even if you at times feel like that's what people make you feel like, that doesn't mean you can run and hide,
Right.
You still have to follow in the footsteps of the flock. And that's a part of this. That's a part of this journey. But know that I'm speaking to you, oh, most beautiful one, as you do that.
Right. That's great. Yeah, I believe there's an element here where the bridegroom sees what she's going to become. He sees chapter 8, the last chapter of the book. He sees that maturity that's coming. And so it's not saying that she has reached that level, but he's recognizing that beauty of what will be. He sees this through the eyes of faith. I love Philippians 1:6. It says, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Yeshua Messiah. So there's this confidence that he speaks over us. It's like, okay, yeah, you're stumbling through little things here, but I see where you're going. I see the sincere cry of your heart for more of me, to walk in holiness, to walk in purity. And that's beautiful to me. And I see where it's going. I see where it's leading. I see the bride made ready. And so holding on to that hope is a really big key in even just working through these little things, the things there, the sin that so easily seeks to beset us, right?
Yeah.
Overcoming those things, we have to hear the bridegroom's voice speaking confidently over us. No, I know you're going to make it. I can see it already. I see the seed form of what's coming. Just keep holding on to your hope.
Yeah, and it also keeps, I keep being reminded of Yeshua's word where it says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. There's such a beauty in hungering and thirsting. Even in your lack, it means that you have a lack,
right?
And there's a beauty to that, because blessed are those. And so I think that's such an important part of the journey is, understanding the lack, but knowing where to go, to be filled up.
Yeah. That reminds me of even just the Sermon on the Mount. He says the very first blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And just how accessible Yeshua makes the kingdom. Is, are you poor? Are you needy? You know, the bride, she recognizes her neediness in the very beginning of the journey.
Yeah.
And Yeshua, he reaches out, he gives an invitation to those who are needy, those who realize that there's a poverty in their spirit. He says, blessed are you when you recognize that. Many people go through life and they feel, you know, Yeshua rebuked the one church in Revelation, I believe, the Laodiceans. He says, you think that you're rich, you think that you have no lack. You know, I counsel you to buy gold refined in the fire. You know, so he makes it accessible. I remember hearing this one thing. He said, this preacher said, Yeshua made the first rung of the ladder easy to grab. You know, blessed are the poor in spirit. And it's amazing. It's in the present tense. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We have poorness of spirit. Basically, when we walk in humility, we walk in that place of, God, I need you. I need you every hour, right? As the song says, he meets us in that place, and we experience a present tense of the kingdom of God. Yeah. So it's a powerful, powerful thing. So, yes, so important. I want to look at another verse here, Psalm 85:13. It says, righteousness will go before him and shall make his footsteps our pathway. I love this verse. It's just saying that he's going before us, basically. You know, the bridegroom has already gone ahead of the flock. And so as we follow with the flock, then we're gonna end up where he is, right? You know, he says he shall make his footsteps our pathway. And so when he says follow in the footsteps of the flock, then we want to follow in his footsteps ultimately. And he's gone before us. He's like the general that goes before his men into battle. You know, he's already made the way. He's already fought the battles. You know, he's won the victory. And so we just follow in his footsteps and follow with the flock. So moving along, it says, and feed your little goats. So he's given this answer. You know, the bride saying, where are you? Where do you feed your flock? And so he answers and says, you know, follow in the footsteps of the flock. And then he says, and feed your little goats beside the shepherd's tents. And this verse here spoke massively to me as a young man, because, you know, as young men, we're seeking, you know, we have big dreams. You know, what are we going to do with our lives and all these things? And this verse spoke to me that in order to really see the fullness of God's will in my life, I needed to be beside the shepherd's tents, you know, to find those men and women of God that had gone before and had the shepherd heart of God in themselves. And because it's plural here, the shepherd's tents, this is, you know, referring to under shepherds. I've even heard them called, you know, under shepherds under Yeshua, those that are, you know, have his heart. And as you're able to be in that place, then you're able to feed the little goats, basically the little responsibilities. You know, before she had been given too much. She is trying to take care of all the vineyards, right? But now he says, you know, the bridegroom answers her and says, just feed your little goats beside the shepherd's tents. You know, he emphasizes their little, you know, the little goats. Don't take on the huge projects. You're growing in love. You're growing in what it means to serve me wholeheartedly. Don't take on too much service right now, but don't totally ignore service either. You have these little responsibilities, these little goats, and you're going to be able to feed them by the shepherd's tents. She, you know, in the beginning, she's asking, where do you feed your flock? He says, okay, you know, he's giving this answer. This is where you're going to find peace. This is where you're going to find the pasture. Follow in the footsteps of the flock, and then feed your little goats beside the shepherd's tents.
Yeah, and you know, it goes back to you know, where she's talking about by the flocks of your companions. And it's almost like, yeah, that's where you should be. The flocks of my companions,
right.
You know, go to the shepherds, you know, tents. And I love how this verse, like how it shows the importance of it kind of, to me, it shows the importance of being discipled and then discipling yourself,
right. Yeah.
You know, and that whole thing that's a part of this whole journey is being discipled by those that have gone before, and then also making sure that you're pouring into those, the little goats, the ones that you've been given responsibility.
Yeah. And this saves so much stress too. Cause when you try to go out and minister to people, but you don't have people that are like looking out for you too, right. Then you can just end up in these places of stress, of anxiety. Whereas if you have those people that are praying for you, you know, those elders, this could be your parents that are praying for you, that are backing you up, you know, they're for you, then it gives so much more stability to being able to minister, to take care of those little responsibilities, those little goats, you could say, you know, that God has given you. And it also provides a context to grow. Like God doesn't want to overwhelm us with so much that we burn out, right? Just take care of if you're a young person out there listening, take care of those little responsibilities that God has given you. And then in that place, you're growing, you're maturing in giftings. And then you're able to take on little bit by little bit, and God brings you to where he wants you to be. And this verse also ties into, the idea of being in a submitted relationship with the leaders in your life. That could be your parents, that could be your spiritual leaders. And God really spoke to me as a young person. I listened to a teaching by Jack Frost. You may have heard of him, but he had a teaching about the life of Yeshua and how Yeshua submitted to his parents. We read in Luke 2:51, he was in his father's house, right, in the temple, and then his parents end up finding him after 3 days. And it says, then he went down with them. This is after they find him. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject to them. But his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Yeshua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men. So here he's subject to them. He's subject to his parents. I mean, the Son of God, he came to be an example to us of how we are to live out our lives, but he's subject to his parents. And I love how he says that he doesn't say he was stifled and just kind of bogged down in that place. No, it says, and Yeshua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men. So he gives us an example of what it means to yield to the shepherds in our life, to those that are in authority. And this is a place of blessing. It's not a place of stifling. And this is such a powerful understanding to have, because one day, likely, you will be in a place of leadership. It could be 20, 30 years down the line. Likely you will have children if you're a young person. And you learn really valuable lessons about what it means to ask others to yield to you. Your children, for example, your children in 20 years. As you yield to your parents now, you're learning really valuable lessons about what that looks like for you to ask that of your children. And so it's very, very key, is just for your overall growth to understand this in a real practical, not just to read books about it, but to actually to live it out.
Right.
It's so important for your spiritual health.
Yep.
And I remember this teaching by Jack Frost. He said that Yeshua had a submission. Basically, his submission was submission. If that makes sense. Like he had a mission to yield to his parents for a season, right, up till he's 30 years old, and then he's released into the larger mission, the ministry mission that God had given him. So Yeshua is an example for us. As I said, he modeled what it means to yield to your parents and then to be released into a next step. And so this is a powerful understanding to have. And it's something, what it does, I don't think that we fully understand how much God really desires to work humility in us, because it's so beneficial for us. Humility is so much more beneficial for us than we even realize, I believe. But he sets up scenarios for us to grow in humility. He purposely does this. And it's so good for us.
Yeah, but it's definitely not easy.
yeah, not an easy road.
And it's definitely not, it's sometimes painful, to walk that, which I think is why, this next part that we go into is basically a bunch of praise. And I think that's a part of it, that we've just gone through this kind of struggle. I'm feeling, feeling dark and struggling with, how am I supposed to pursue you? I just want it to be me and you. Do I have to deal with the companions, with the flocks? And he's saying, yes, yes. But, and then he goes into this praise, which I think is necessary to walk the journey. And I think, that's what the shepherd, the beloved here, he knows that the bride, this isn't going to be an easy path. I'm not asking her to do something easy. So I'm going to say this lovingly, and then I'm going to praise her, as she decides to go on this journey.
Yeah. It's there's so much in this that we could expound on more, but I think that the heart of it is God wants you to be fruitful. He desires you to produce much fruit for his glory. And Yeshua modeled what it means to produce fruit. He produced the most fruit of any human that ever walked this earth, and he modeled what it means to yield. And so just take that in prayer. What does it mean for me to yield in my life to those in authority over me, and to see it as a good thing. God didn't make a mistake in this plan. He has your best interest at heart. And he's going to use it for your good.
Yeah, and be thankful. I think that's one thing that we've learned, that in the journey, there are times that are hard. There are times where, you don't feel like, you're being treated right or fairly or whatever it is, as you go on this journey of submitting to the path that God's put in front of you. But man, this is our training. We need to be thankful. God's preparing us. He is making us ready, perfectly training us. Every situation that, that he brings into our life as we do this journey, as we follow the flocks, as we, stay by the shepherd's tents, it's all for our good, and there's such great blessing. And so, to even be thankful in the midst of that,
Yes.
which I, as we share these things, this is sharing to ourselves too.
Right.
These are all truths that we are contending for still.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So moving on to verse 9, the bridegroom says, I have compared you, my love, to my filly among Pharaoh's chariots. And Pharaoh's chariots historically were the best in the world. People would buy horses from Egypt at exorbitant prices. And so Solomon had a lot of money. So you can actually go to Israel today and they've unearthed these Solomon stables. He had several hundreds of horses, I believe, from Egypt, huge stable area. And so he was familiar with Pharaoh's chariots. And so he's comparing. This is kind of, I don't know if I told you that, Tally, would you be flattered? You're like this horse that is like so well trained and so powerful. Some of the things in the Song of Songs is like maybe there's a little bit of breakdown in communication.
Yeah. Well, I think that, because we have looked at this whole book, like I think, it is a funny book, because all of the compliments are all like comparing to animals and like these strange things, and it's just like totally not relevant in our culture, like as far as the way it is. But after you learn like the way that
the symbolism behind it.
Like how, it really is. It just shows such depth to the compliments. It's not just like, you're so pretty or, it is, but it's like going into detail about it. So
right.
like I love the compliments
Yeah.
in all of the Song of Solomon. I think it's great.
So the bridegroom is basically saying here, even though you've come out of the season of feeling a little bit like a failure, you're saying, don't look at me, I'm ashamed. But he says, no, I've compared you, my love. He reaffirms his love to her. He says, my loved one, you're like Pharaoh's, you're like my filly among Pharaoh's chariots. You're well trained. You're one that is able to go forward. Even in the midst of the battle. Pharaoh's chariots, these are battle horses. You're able. You may not feel like it, but you're able to continue on in the battle for mature love. You're able to continue on contending for wholehearted, passionate love, and so he's affirming her again. You're equipped, basically, is what way I understand this. In the parable and the symbolism, you're equipped to go forward. You have
ready to take on this hard road that I'm calling you to.
Through the strength of the bridegroom, you're able to overcome. He goes on and says, your cheeks are lovely with ornaments. In the Song of Solomon, the cheeks speak of the emotions. I can look at Tally's cheeks and I can know whether she's happy or sad. Basically, the cheeks are a really strong indicator of how a person is feeling. And so he says here, your cheeks are lovely with ornaments. He's basically saying, your emotions are beautiful to me. Their ornaments are something that a craftsman spends a lot of time, fashioning, And so when he says your cheeks are lovely with ornaments, he's saying your emotions are being crafted. They're being formed by me, by my spirit. Your cheeks are lovely with ornaments.
Maybe even the complexity of it, the complexity of the journey, the complexity of how she takes the journey, that it's not that he's sitting there going, I totally don't get why this is so hard for you.
Right.
It's like, it's almost this, like it's beautiful, just how delicate and how you're made, basically.
Yeah. And we know Yeshua is the skillful workman. Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship, created in Messiah Yeshua for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So here he's even working on our emotions, and he affirms us. Your cheeks are lovely. Your emotions are beautiful to me. Your emotions of love, your desire for me, your cheeks are lovely with ornaments. He's speaking affirmation to her emotions. And it says your neck with chains of gold. The neck speaks of the will. You hear someone say the stiff-necked person, right? So your neck with chains of gold. And gold, often the Bible speaks of divine, or it's something from heaven. So she has submitted her will to God. And so she carries his authority. So the neck is, the direction. Your neck with chains of gold. There's this divine, there's this heavenly anointing and authority on her will. And so God, he's affirming her will that, God's going to strengthen her will to obey and to continue to embrace that heavenly calling that's on her life. So I think we'll wrap it up right there for now. But may you be blessed, and may you continue to grow in love for your bridegroom. That's the purpose of this whole series.
Yep. This is Braden and Tally reminding you to listen to the voice of your beloved bridegroom. He's coming quickly.